first ever episode.
Do it again.
Okay. Ladies and
It's
gentlemen,
recorded.
we would we would love
You
to
jinxed
welcome
us.
you to the first ever episode of the obviously live What's Trending with Danielle. Guys, I'm your co-host at Nefarious Comics. This is the often imitated, the never duplicated, the one and only Nerdy Girl Comics, also known as Danielle. How you doing, Danielle?
Hey, good. How you doing? I'm super excited.
I am super excited too. Now, guys, chances are if you're watching this video, we are right around Halloween. And I got a quick question for you, Danielle. Like, where is your Halloween costume?
I'm saving it. I will be debuting it this evening and we'll be sharing it. But I can't ruin it because it's amazing. This is a little sneak peek.
Okay, well, listen, I'm feeling it. So guess what my Halloween costume is right here. I'm going to give you the full look of the costume. We're talking Brad Pitt circa 1997. I get confused for him all the time, believe it or not. Absolutely. Absolutely not. All right, guys.
Throwback.
Throwback. Yeah, worst Halloween costume ever. Okay, guys, we're thrilled to have you here. So Danielle, listen, a couple weeks ago, I heard a rumor. Instagram told me that you went on a small, slight little trip to a small gathering held in one of the boroughs of upstate New York, known as the New York Comic Con.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I want to hear all about it. So how did it go? Like, tell us.
It was amazing. So that was my first real show in really almost 2 years. The last show I did was C2E2 in March 2019. So really right as like the world started shutting down. And it was just amazing to be back on the show floor. I got to go as kind of like an exhibitor attendee instead of like having a full booth. I brought a bag of books. I was able to do some trades still, do some deals, and I really just got to walk around the show floor and embrace it for what it was. But the most beautiful part was there were not like a bajillion people. One of like the jokes we make is like you shuffle like sardines in a can and you could like breathe this year.
So Danielle, I got an interesting question for you because like when I think of like a bag of books, I'm sure when a lot of people think of a bag of books, like I think I might have a Sports Illustrated in there. You know what I mean? There might be a newspaper from a couple days past. Like what is in a bag of Nerdy Girls books?
This is why I call it my bag of tricks.
Okay.
I had a Fantastic Four 565 that sold at the show. I had a Detective 38 that I traded at the show and got the highlight from that was Journey 83 with white pages and 4-0. I had an Avengers 1, and then I had like Action 7 and like 10 or 11 other books. No big deal.
Yeah. So basically what I'm hearing is you went to an auction house, cleaned out half their stock, threw it in a knapsack, and
Picked,
flew down.
chose what I wanted, and snuck out the back door.
Now, I'll tell you something. So when I pack, I've sent you a couple things before, like when I pack books up and whatnot, and like
Yeah,
literally, like an atomic bomb could go off. These things are not going to be
but
damaged.
actually,
And then when I travel, like with books, how did you have these things packed up? Like were they literally
put
like
them
just
in the backpack and put it on my back, and I go.
Well, that's good for you. And well, thankfully, nothing happened to them. So I'm sitting on the couch. I'm looking at Instagram. It's Saturday morning. We got my beloved BB Collectibles drop just going on, and here I am, him and hawing over spending what I feel is two US dollars too much for an uncommon. Next thing you know, I'm like, I'm gonna check out Instagram, see what's going on. 5 minutes into the show, there you are posting a Fantastic Four #1, and you're like, first purchase of the show. I'm like, well, I got to reevaluate my priorities here.
Go big or go home.
Go big or go home. So how did you find that amazing book down there?
It was in another dealer's booth. So when you're an exhibitor, you get to go into the show floor early.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of deals happen. I know some people probably don't want to hear this, but I feel like it's like common knowledge that like dealers get in early, they get to go and wheel and deal with each other. It's how
Right.
people keep their inventory fresh. It's really kind of it's kind of a necessity.
Yeah, well,
So
for
you
sure.
always have new stuff.
Well, it's like a coworker. You know, you guys are basically coworkers. You're interacting with
Yeah.
each other, and ultimately, a lot of people want to kind of work together and help each other out. And so, you know how I feel about the Fantastic Four. You know what I mean? I love them. I think it's an amazing book. And we were talking the other day over on your IG live last night or the other day when we were popping up the show about
Yeah.
we're both fans of the FF, not only for the intellectual property of the material, but for like the future of the book. What else did you see down there? Like what other like what was the biggest book that you saw or heard of selling down there?
Oh, probably one of the biggest books would have to be Marvel 192, the pay copy that Metropolis has coming to auction. In I think a few weeks it's going to drop. They also have a Superman 170. So I would say that those are probably some of the biggest books. Golden had a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 9/8,
Oh,
which I know for Turtles fans, like that's an epic, amazing book. I'm not as hot on that one. At that price value, I'd rather have a Cap one or a Marvel one.
yeah.
Uh,
Well, that's pretty. So for those of our viewers that don't know what like the pay copy exactly is, like what is the Marvel One pay copy?
so they actually wrote notes on the cover of the book showing what the salary was for people and what
Oh,
they were paying, and they used it as like bookkeeping. So it's a 9/2. It's one of the nicest copies of Marvel One in existence.
right.
And I know that there's always going to be people who don't like writing on books and don't like date stamps, but there are certain things that are on books that are just incredible because of the historical significance of it.
Yeah, like that's a really interesting book because if I'm not mistaken, I think there's about 25 copies on census right now.
No, I think there's more than that
No more,
on
eh?
Marvel One.
Okay.
Not many more than that, but I think that there's definitely under 50 copies of
Okay, so we have
Marvel One out there.
and so that one obviously with kind of historical significance.
That
Is,
might be highest graded though, or tied for highest graded.
so what are we thinking that might go for when it comes to auction?
I'm thinking around 1 million.
Wow. Well, another book in the Million Club.
Yeah.
Amazing. And so
And
back
that
to the
deserves to be like
well,
that
I agree.
started Marvel. It's the first timely ever made. The cover is not great, but the historical significance of that is just it's mind-blowing, genuinely.
Like listen, I love the history of comic books, and I think that's a phenomenal issue.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna go call the bank momentarily here, see if we can extend my line of credit up to around 1 million. But
You can
back
bump
to
that for me.
yeah, back to the show. So here's another question because there's a whole bunch of prominent people on Instagram and they're all posting about the show and whatnot. And then all of a sudden, it's like the Illuminati assembles, and I see there's like these big dinner parties. I'm like, whoa! I know these people on Instagram. I know those people on Instagram, knowing by meaning I follow, and it's super cool. You guys are all together, and I saw there's like this crazy dinner party get together. Like, what's the story
That
there?
was amazing. So that probably is one of my favorite New York moments. It was Skeleton Keys, Sammy's birthday,
Wow.
during New York on that Thursday. And one of the people that we both follow and know, Chino,
Hmm.
is the head chef at Quality Bistro in Manhattan. If you're in the area, you have to go there for a meal. Genuinely beautiful restaurant. The food was impeccable. And he invited us for dinner to the restaurant. And so it was me, it was Sam, it was Danny and his wife, Loco for comics, if you don't know him. And his
Hmm.
wife is actually, she just started her own record label.
Oh wow.
So it's really incredible. Yeah, talk about like a baddie.
Wow.
And we also, Jesse, Joe Simon's grandson. And
Amazing.
then it was the creator of Stranger Comics, Sebastian and his crew. So it not only did we have like the most amazing meal, but the company was just in the conversations and just incredible. Sebastian actually just sent me his first books, Untamed and Niobe, and I'm so excited
That's
to read
that.
it. It's my
Yeah.
first read ever. Like my first real comic book read is the Untamed #1.
That what
It's
now?
Ian.
I think you had him on your IG the other day for some
Yeah,
IG
super
live.
briefly. I ambushed him.
That's that's the way to do it. You get good content that way, Danielle. And so tell me this. So you and I, you know what I mean? We're maybe a little older than some of the people you're hanging out with. You know what I mean? You know, early to mid 30s, give or take. So how did the new guard, the younger kids, do compared to the veteran Danielle when it came to like lasting the day at the show, going out for dinner, maybe having
Oh,
a couple
I'm built
cocktails?
for shows. I'm a rock star. Like, shows are my moment. I will be out all night and I will still be at the show in the morning. I
Oh,
might be a little late sometimes, but I'm still up and I'm doing it the next day. Shows are like my moments.
okay, so you picked up the FF1. I saw that. You picked up some amazing silver keys. So who did you do the deal with? Like where did your first Robin go to, and who was a lucky recipient?
Russian Max on Instagram
Ah,
also.
that's
Yep.
very nice stuff. Very nice stuff. So I take it he was happy with the deal. You were happy with the
Yeah.
deal. Amazing exchange. What
I
else did
hemmed
you?
and hawed. It was really hard to like trade a golden age key for silver and bronze, but I guess that's the market we're in right now.
Yeah, but you know what? I don't think there was really a loser in that trade.
No, it
You know what
was
I
a
mean?
very fair trade. It
I
was.
think so. I think it was a good deal. So what else was there anything else you kind of found in there that you thought was neat that you picked up to bring home with you?
I went box diving.
Oh, oh, you did, eh?
I did.
So,
I
so
went box
what,
diving.
what came out of these boxes?
I have a whole stack that I'll have a video of like, I don't know, 50 books that I pulled from boxes, mostly for whatnot streams. Because it's like just really cool books for the community over there. But yeah, I have not gone box diving in years and I had fun doing it.
Well, that's amazing, and that's part of the fun too, especially if the show is not as busy, where you have people like diving over you,
Yes.
especially with COVID and stuff. It's a little weird. That's cool, man. That's really cool. So, quick question for you, Danielle. Let's say I want to go to one show next year. It's a toss up between San Diego and New York Comic Con. Where would you recommend I go?
New York. I love San Diego, but New York,
New York, eh?
so much easier to go into.
Ah, very cool. Now, last question on New York before we move on to our next segment. Was there anyone there that you were like, oh my God, I can't believe this person's here? It could be a celebrity, could be another dealer, could be a friend.
Well, I was happy I got to hang with Sam and Tony. I got to meet Joe Doyle, who's an up and coming Marvel artist. He will have a cover soon.
Oh,
I said it first. He will have one of these, like, I think in the near future. He does ridiculous Venom art. Um, I was really just happy to see like my old school group. Like I have a new group of like IG community members and like Sam's my girl, but my old school guys that I came up with shows in, like those are still my homies and it was really great to get to hang out with them some and
so
see
let's shout
them.
out. Let's shout out. Who's the old school? Who's the people
Uh
that you came up through the ranks with?
Bobby Storms at High Grade Comics.
Yeah,
Only I get to call him Bobby. Very select number of people. High Grade Comics. He has amazing stuff. If you want to check out his website, it's highgradecomics.com. Reese's Comics. Greg started Reese, and Austin and Alex have really kind of taken it by the helms and are putting their mark on it now, which is really fun to see. Dave and Adams, I've been working with them since they kind of came into the comic scene. Wool is one of my comic homies. Um, Travels has been around forever. Tomorrow's Treasures, really fun to watch. Richie and Kathy still hit shows. Yeah.
that's now, guys. If you're not familiar with any of these dealers, like I grew up reading Overstreet, the Overstreet Guide to Comics. I was on the CGC boards forever. These are like heavy, heavy hitters. Like if you see
Yeah.
some of these booths at shows, like there's a level to everything, and then there's like the boss of Final Fantasy VII, and each of these guys, they're very, very impressive dealers. And Danielle, so super cool that you're friends with these people, and then that you know them, and it's always fun
Yeah.
bumping into them. So guys, moving right along now, we're going to move into our tracking numbers segment, because you know what? When you buy something, who doesn't want to get their tracking numbers ASAP? And on the other hand, who doesn't like tracking numbers about what books
Yep.
finish at? So guys, being on the theme of we are Halloween just a couple days away, I was thinking it was kind of be fun just to ask your opinion, Danielle, on what you think about I guess they're kind of Halloween themed like books. We're talking like Blade, Tomb of Dracula, number 10. Now that book, that was very, very hot, kind of beginning of summer, midsummer. There's been like a lot of speculation. I know Blade's been recast for the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Yeah.
What do you think about this book right now?
I think that book has always been somewhat undervalued. So I'm kind of happy to see that getting love. That is not one of the more common Bronze Age keys, in my opinion. I think it's especially tougher and high grade. So I think there's going to be something really epic that comes of that character development.
Yeah, you think so? You know what?
Yeah.
I like Blade. I think he's pretty cool. Let's see what happens. You know what I mean? It just got super hot, like super fast. It was on like the
Yeah,
Key
but
Collector.
like if you look at it compared to like other like Werewolf by Night 32 or like Hulk 181 came out at the same time, which I know Hulk 181 is like the goat of the Bronze Age. But if you compare it like side by side, Marvel Spotlight 5, like all these books that are kind of around the same time, I feel like Tomb of Dracula is kind of a little bit of a sleeper.
Kind of a bit of a sleeper. So there's an interesting segue. What about Marvel Spotlight 5? Is that still good? Is that kind of plateaued? Is that on
I feel
its
like that
downward?
book has plateaued some. I think that it deserves to be where it is, but I do think that it's kind of plateaued a little bit.
Yeah. And then what? So the Midnight Suns are all kind of, people are speculating Midnight Suns are going to come around. They're going to be formed up. I think there's a Midnight Sun video game coming out. I think another member of the kind of Midnight Sun family ish is like Moon Knight. He has his own Disney Plus show on the
Yeah.
way out. How do you like that book?
I never got into Moon Knight, so I can't really comment on that one.
Hmm. Well, it'll be interesting to see. They're all kind of a Halloween theme. What was
That's
interesting
so
though?
Halloween themed.
Do you remember? This is a couple months back at Heritage. I'm not sure if it was a pedigree collection or not, but like it was like a 9/8 white pages Marvel Spotlight 5 ended up going at like
Like
$250,000.
250 or something. That was crazy.
That
That
was
was madness. 100 would have been like, holy hell.
Yeah, it's wild. That's what happens when you get these highest graded copies with some pedigree-ish or some providence, and people start bidding it up, and just it goes nuts.
That's what
So
happens when you get two uber rich guys.
two uber rich guys, eh? Okay, so a neat little kind of sub-segment we do tracking numbers is this or that, where we kind of put two books or two kind of ideas or directions you can go at a price point, and then we debate. So Danielle, let's say I got $100,000 right now. $100,000. I want to spend 100 grand on a comic book. Where do you think is good for that book? So I'm going to throw out two books, which I think are kind of similarly priced right now. Hulk 181.98. We were talking about it on your IG live last night, or Fantastic Four 48 9.8. Two characters that we know you're going to be seeing
Oh
soon.
gosh, that is a hard one because there's so many FF48s out there. Like
Well,
there
say
was that giant warehouse.
fantastic. Are we but they're both ending. I saw like a 9.8 end at 100,
Yeah,
about
it's
110 at
there.
Heritage.
I think I'm gonna go Silver Age.
You think you're gonna go with
FF40.
this FF48, eh? You know what? I don't know where I'd go with that. They both kind of taken the same trajectory price wise, you know.
Yeah.
You know what? And here's why I would say maybe the Silver Surfer. I think Wolverine's a bigger character. I think he has a bigger future in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, per se. There's only like 30 Fantastic Four 9.8s on the census versus like 130,
100
140.
something. Yeah.
Yeah, Hulk 181s. But like, listen, if you own either one of those, I don't think you're really losing out.
You're happy.
Yeah. So let's drop it down a bit. Let's go down to the $50,000 mark. You got 50 grand right now. And where would you put that? Here's something interesting. Would you put that in a higher end gold bat book? Let's say, can you get like, is it a Detective 31, which is the syringe cover?
Mm.
Is that
No, 35 is the hypodermic needle cover.
okay? So let's go like the hypodermic needle cover for a $50,000 copy of that. And please excuse me, I don't know what grade that would land, but it's a super cool cover. Or would you go something a little more into the Silver Age? What's a Silver Age book around the $50,000 mark, Danielle, that you think's up and
Like
coming?
a Journey 83, like 8-0, 7-5. something like
Journey of the
that.
Mystery 7-5. You know what? Why don't we go a little off the beaten path? Why don't we say Giant Size X-Men 198? That's a neat.
Oh, I'm
That's a spell.
choosing the detective.
You are, right? You don't think the Giant
Yeah,
Size X-Men is just going to go to the moon and back?
it's a classic Detective Comics cover.
Yeah, but you have a biased interest, I think, on that. I think anything Golden Age, Danielle's gonna be like, yo, right into the Golden Age.
Not any, but if you would have said Giant Size X-Men 1 or Adventure 40, I would probably choose Giant Size X-Men 1. But when you talk classic detective Batman covers from the 40s, it's like MC Hammer, can't touch this.
You know what's interesting, and Danielle, like when I was just at Fan Expo, we were talking about that on your IG Live. I had so much fun going on about that, and I still, anyone that bumps into me for the next, I don't know, probably 3 weeks, whether you're into comics or not, you're going to hear about my stories from Fan Expo, unsolicited. Just go in.
Sorry, not sorry.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, pardon me. Is that the aisle at the grocery store that the bananas are in? By the way, Fan
Oh,
Expo is
by
an
the
excellent
way.
time. Yeah. So you know what? I was asking some dealers, dealers, when you see someone that you want to aspire to be like some of these Comic Book Addiction is the name of the vendor. He had an amazing setup. And so I asked the
Yeah.
guy, I go, where do you think I should put my money right now? And you know what he said to me? He goes, well, don't put your money into something that's tripled in value in the last year, aka like Marvel. You know what I mean? I love Marvel, and that's like where I'm like drawn to. He
Yeah.
goes, buy DC because
Yeah.
they will catch up. He goes, specifically Batman. He goes, buy DC Batman. And I've kind of always had a soft spot for like Batman Silver Age villains. I think there's a lot of room in
Yeah.
those, a lot of cool covers like Neil Adams stuff. And so
Oh yeah, there's some great covers.
going on that note, so I'm just gonna put it out there, and we won't put like a specific price point on it, but let's say, would you rather put your money into, because we were talking about this the other day, pre-code horror or DC Silver Age Bat villains?
Pre-code horror.
Pre-code horror, and now is that because you have a vested interest in that, or you just think that's where safe
I
money's
just
going to be?
think that these covers are so iconic and they're so classic, and there's so many fewer copies
And
of
so,
a lot of these books. More than
and so,
anything, like it comes down to pops.
yeah, you know what, Danielle? The only reason I might disagree with you is just because you have like the old guard, the people like you or me that have come up that have been into comics for 30 years, and then
Yeah.
yeah, you have some of the newer people that are coming
Oh,
and
for sure.
that might not know as much about these fine cognacs that are pre-code horror. And like we were talking about before we went live, guys, Danielle and I were talking about a couple different things, and I was like, you know what, I love it all. I just it's just hard because when you have your collecting niche, it's hard to start branching out onto other things just because the price is kind of prohibited sometimes.
Here's a counterpoint to that.
Yes.
People always come in and they start with like what they grew up with and they gradually make their way back. So even if they come into Silver Age DC's first, eventually most people find their way back because it's like this transition that gets made, right? Where like people are like, okay, this is not that hard to find. I want a harder hunt. I'm going to make some money on this stuff that I bought. I'm going to sell it. And I'm all for quality over quantity.
Hmm.
And so you roll it up, and eventually people discover all of these ridiculous golden age books they didn't know existed. And they
Yeah.
have like this, like, aha, oh my God, you're what I've been looking for moment. And I think that that's starting to happen slowly with the new wave.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. It's like, scarcity breeds demand, and it's really fun. I know one of my good friends, his name's Chris. He goes by G-Riz Comics on Instagram, and he says, you know what, he's collecting a Vampirella run, and he goes, I could just go on eBay, Ryan, and I could finish it off like that, but there's no fun in that. You know what I mean? I want to go, I
Yeah.
want to find it in the wild. I want to go looking through bins. I want to source. And there's
Hunt
something to be
it.
said about that. It's a good time. So Danielle,
Yeah.
when you're
Thrill of the
saying
chase.
yeah, no, here's just an interesting question for you, Danielle. So you're saying people kind of gravitated towards what they grew up with. So when you were growing up, like what were you into?
I didn't read comic books. I played video games
Oh, yeah,
and
okay. So
Barbies.
video games and Barbies, very good. So that would make sense, which is an interesting transition, guys, because in the weeks down the road, get ready for a lot of content about video games. We're just mapping that out right now. So in future episodes, like I want to learn more about video games. I think it's the coolest thing. I figure the nerdy girl herself, she seems to be a bit of an authority on the subject matter. We're gonna dive into that like head first, you know?
Super excited. Yeah.
And so I'm looking forward to that. So Danielle, before we let you guys go, tell us, what do you have going on this week?
I have Whatnot streams Saturday and Sunday. Saturday morning, I have my every Saturday, Sammy, Skeleton Keys, and I jump on and we do Silver and Bronze Age. Sunday mornings, faithfully, 10 a.m., I'm on streaming at Nerdy Girl Comics. It's going to be a little weird this year. I don't know that I'll be on this Sunday since it's Halloween and I am having a party Saturday night. I'm really going to try to behave tonight. But
I love it.
Should I overindulge, I will make up for it next week. And then Whatnot Wednesday, I kick it off every Wednesday at 6 p.m. And I really feel like I need to get back to more IG live streams. Oh, I have a claim sale in 2 weeks coming. I'll be posting details for that soon.
Claim sale in 2 weeks. So what are some
IG live claim sale?
It's been a minute for an IG live claim sale for you. So we're gonna
stacking my war chest.
Give us a glimpse. What are some of the highlights here that we're gonna be seeing?
Spidey 129s. I've got Journey 83s. I've got Avengers 1. I've got just keys on keys on keys. Spidey 300s. Walking Dead 1. What else? Giant size X-Men 1. I just picked up a copy finally after way too long of not having one.
Wow.
Yeah, all sorts of goodies.
So guys, you heard it here first. Make sure you post your sales so you can have that cash ready to be spending, because it literally sounds like there's some good stuff.
Build the bankroll.
Yeah, guys. So Danielle, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe next week's episode, we're going to be talking all about auction houses. It's a favorite pastime of mine. You know what I mean? You see some real-time fair market values being established. You see some record highs. But, you know, how do you use auction houses? What are some tips and tricks that we use? Where are our favorite auction houses? Yeah. They're all great. But, man, and I just like to send it out to everyone. Have a happy and safe Halloween. Enjoy yourself. And we can't wait to see you back here next week.
Tag me in your costumes if you post them on Instagram. I love Halloween and I love seeing everyone dressed up. So please tag me in your costumes. Happy Halloween. Happy hunting.
Have a great one.
Till next week.